Hello, I'm Jessica, and today we're going to be talking about your moods, your emotions, and how to control them. And this concept that we think we have to have in order to have a good mood, which is happiness. And what is happiness, really? And when were you promised a happy, stress-free life? I don't know, but we're also going to talk about finding purpose within this because it kind of helps with the mood and the happiness thing. And if you're new here, welcome to my channel. If you haven't figured out yet, this is a philosophy video on a variety channel because you can just do what you want. And today's philosophy video as well is sort of the alternative to that manosphere because I spend a lot of time watching Andrew Tate and hanging out on Milo Yiannopoulos' Twitter so that you don't have to, and that's okay. Anyways, today we're going to be starting with a Persian philosopher, and if you've been around here, you know most of my philosophy videos are about like Greek or Chinese philosophers, so this is a little bit of departure. And this gentleman was called Al-Ghazali, who says, "You possess only whatever will not be lost in a shipwreck." And what he's basically saying here is any material possession, thing that you can hold in your hand is something that you actually do not possess. And this wasn't a larger concept or a larger critique on materialism that we would think now if someone was to actually give this critique. Of course it applies, but he was merely talking about things that are within our control. These like our internal qualities of how we think about things, our character, our knowledge that we have accumulated. No one can ever take that away from you. This that you're learning right now, no one can take that. Except, you can lose your memory. But other things you can't lose are things like your virtue. And speaking of virtue, let me explain that a little bit more. And now we're going to get into Stoic philosophy because they talk about the same concept with things that have value are what is in your control. And the virtue means it's basically your judgments and your actions, like how you handle things in life. So when it comes to things like your material wealth, your reputation, which is, largely dependent on others, your external qualities, how you're born, how you look, if you have an ailment, an inherited ailment or illness, things like that, and even your own life, which, we are the subject of. Yeah, your own life, unless very certain circumstances, is not exactly in your control of the time length. That is a larger fate kind of situation or God. Either way, these are all external things and they can be lost. Therefore, it is not a true value or good that you can actually have. Understanding what is actually of value is a cornerstone not only of Stoic philosophy, but a lot of others as well. Because and the point of philosophy too is to live a more harmonious life. And a lot of that has to do with not being ruled by your emotions and being a slave to that, which is, hold on. And having this overabundance of emotion from things like worrying about how much money you have, which is totally valid, but putting your happiness on it and thinking that you have to be happy because you have this money or you have this reputation or whatever it is that cannot be held, putting your happiness or sadness on that makes you go through life as a participant and not in control of that, which also interferes with your logical thought if you are constantly, in a crappy mood, everything's bad, or this thing is good, and you have to understand that all of that is fleeting. And really, this pursuit and the chasing of happiness is very much a modern luxury and a Western privilege to even have that idea. And it's very skewed what we think of, especially if you look at throughout history, how people have lived and found a way to be happy with so little compared to what we have now. And that also leads to another concept that the Stoics emphasize too, which is kathekon. Try to pronounce this correctly. And which translates to your appropriate action or the proper function of yourself, who you are. Also known as duty, which is officium, another, I feel like I pronounce everything wrong, which is another concept, which is, it really talks about your duty to yourself and to the world. And the point of this being, you can chase that happiness that is inherently fleeting, or live a content life that you have fulfilled and done your duty and your purpose, this kathekon idea. And that truly is, like I said, even other concepts, not just Stoicism, but also Epicureanism, Cynicism, they also talk about this as well. And another concept that goes along with that, if you want to check out other videos I have, talks about the concept of ikigai and talks about finding your purpose there. And another concept along with this one is called raison d'être. I think I got that pronunciation right. But that also talks about what's your reason for being and your existence. Because it's easy all day to say, find your purpose, do what you're supposed to do. Because how are you supposed to even do that? How do you start? And the main place to start is seeing what you are inclined to do, as in, what do you like? What are you good at? And all these, which is a concept in existentialism, actually, which is I'm creating my purpose and my niche in the world. And all that comes about through the choices that you make and the actions that you take with those choices. And that is the best way to find that raison d'être and kathekon. And hopefully you've got a little bit of information from this video to not be completely ruled by your possessions, your wealth, your reputation, or your moods and emotions, because get a hold of yourself and stop being emotionally incontinent if that is you. Thank you. Please like, share, and subscribe. Bye.